Good afternoon. My name is Rochelle Thomas. Um, so I actually found the reading this this week to be very interesting. From Monster to Martyr, um, kind of gave a different perspective on what what religious perspectives and how men and women reacted differently to religion during that time. Um, I looked at Mary Dyer, who was a supporter of Anne Hutchinson and who probably had some influence on the direction Mary Dyer took regarding defending her beliefs. Um, I looked at that in Francis Bremer from 2018, uh, Dissenting Puritans, Anne Hutchinson, and Mary Dyer. And what it took a good look at was that both women were looked at differently by their friends and neighbors. They were both strong, independent, outspoken women, which was not very well received during that time period. Um, and also something I garnered from looking at this was that it looked like both women were probably educated. However, I would say that Mary Dyer probably was probably better educated than Anne Hutchinson. Anne Hutchinson to me seemed to be um, more about maybe about shenanigans than and then just the shock factor maybe that she added to a conversation just by doing things that she knew were not looked at well during that time in society. Um, I also looked at a small article written by Mary Dyer. It's called A Brief Statement of the Sufferings of Mary Dyer, occasioned by the society called Shakers. And what this actually showed me was that where maybe Anne Hutchinson used the religious aspect as a way to showcase herself, and um, it looked to me that Mary may have held quite a bit more conviction than Anne. Um, some of the stuff I read actually showed where she, on several different occasions, risked hanging and banishment. She was warned by the Church of Boston to stay out, and yet she kept coming back to see friends and to visit with friends that were jailed for being Quakers. Um, and actually, at one point in time, she was actually on the gallows, and the public outrage toward hanging a woman at that time probably saved her life. And I don't see where that really stopped her from defending her beliefs and standing beside the people that she believed truly represented her beliefs. Um, and Hutchinson, on the other hand, the second time she went to trials, they actually got her to recant a lot of her beliefs and stuff, which to me shows, like I said in the beginning, where Anne Hutchinson maybe was more into the shenanigans of it. She kind of showed that she might not have been quite as willing to actually risk her life. And the thing about that is that Mary actually, I believe, when I read, may have been, it was either in the short story by her, um, the occasion by the society called Shakers, or in the From Monster to Martyr. I think she had up to 10 children, and so for her to risk her family and being away from her children for this showed a true conviction in what she believed. Um, in the Monster to Martyr, I also looked at an article by um, oh, Windsor Johann, Mary and William Dyer, Quaker Light and Puritan Ambition in Early New England. And Wisner seemed to look at how, what it must have been like for Mary. Here was this strong, educated woman who stuck up for her beliefs, and then due to a miscarriage was labeled a monster. Which I looked at that as, I think people back then found it very easy to ascribe demonic or bad things if they saw something they didn't understand. I mean, today with modern medicine, we know there can be a lot of abnormalities, and probably in all reality, this was probably just a malformed stillborn. Of course, they went on to accuse Anne Hutchinson of, I think, having 30 at one time, and that was that kind of led a little bit of discredibility to what they were claiming. However, anytime Mary walked down the street, she knew that she was being labeled a monster, and yet she still managed to hold her head up and stick beside what she believed. So, and another thing I took from this was that most of these people were people that came here from the old country, whatever part of Europe they came from, and they came here during during a religious revolution where they were fighting for religious freedoms, religious choice, and yet I also saw where even over here, you still had different groups that were having to fight so hard to achieve that and to be accepted, because I read in a couple of these articles that I looked at, the one Dissenting Puritans by Francis Brimmer, and also the one in Windsor, Johann, that even though they came over here and did that, I mean, the Quakers were banned in Massachusetts. I mean, they just didn't want them there. And here you were with this big new country, and for these people to be so, I mean, it wasn't like they were living right on top of each other, and yet there was still so much dissension, distrust, and it seemed like almost hatred towards certain sects as they formed. And also, but like I said, with Mary, I think one of the things I took away from was that, after she had this stillborn or miscarriage, the whole community labeled her a monster, basically, probably almost calling her a witch or something like this, associated with the devil, with evil. And she still held her head up high and carried on with her beliefs. That's all for now. Thank you.